Rock climbing can be a fun and exciting sport with many physical and mental benefits, but it can also be very scary if you don't know what you're doing. In this video, we will cover equipment you'll need, basic safety for belaying, and our expert Guy DeBrun will share his thoughts on fear management. Welcome to the world of rock climbing. To get started, you're going to need a couple things. Climbing shoes, a harness, a chalk bag, a locking carabiner and an ATC or belay device, and of course, your climbing rope. Okay, so once you have all your gear and you know where you want to climb, you need to secure yourself to the belay system. So you're going to take your end of the rope if you're a climber, you're going to tie a figure 8 knot, and you're going to run it through the bottom of your harness and the top of your harness, and then you're going to trace that knot with the rope to make sure it's secure. Alright, I am tied in and ready to go. As a belayer, you'll need an ATC, and to set up the ATC, you'll take a bight of rope, pass it through the ATC, and take a locking carabiner and clip both the rope and the bottom of the ATC together, and then you'll take the carabiner and clip that to the belay loop of your harness. Make sure that you don't confuse the climbing end and the break end of the rope. Belaying is all about managing slack. When belaying, always keep a hand on the break end. Take out slack with one hand, move it to the break end, and repeat. To arrest a fall, place both hands on the brake.
Can you introduce yourself for us, please?
Sure, my name is Guy DeBrun. I'm the Assistant Director for Adventure and Team Programs, and I've been here for about 5 years.
What's your responsibilities at UREC?
My responsibilities are the overall management and administration of the Adventure Program. And we have 4 main areas. We have a climbing wall, obviously. We have a trip program, an equipment rental program, and a challenge course.
When did you start climbing?
I started climbing the summer before my senior year. I took a rock climbing class at Eastern Mennonite University, and so that would have been 1997.
How do you manage fear when climbing?
Well, for me, I try to make sure I stay within my limits, and one of the ways when you're in a situation that's scary is to completely focus on the climb that you're on and what needs to get done to be successful in that. It helps you block out what's going on, and so this idea of a flow state in which you can block out anything but the activity you're in is pretty rare, right? Like when you're trying to do your schoolwork or you're trying to work at the computer, there's all sorts of other distractions, things that go in through your head, whereas climbing is one of those sports that you are able to shut all that stuff out and completely focus on the activity at hand. And that's one of the ways I've managed my fear, by A, staying within my limits, and B, focusing on just the climb, the movement, and not thinking about the consequences of a fall, for example.
So then, leading off of that question, what safety tips would you give participants?
Well, probably the most important thing is to not progress past your experience level. And to seek out qualified instruction. Especially young climbers get really enthusiastic about the sport and they want to push into the more difficult or more risky aspects of climbing, such as lead climbing or mountaineering. And it's really important to seek out qualified instruction and mentorship and not leap ahead of your experience. You can get in it over your head really quickly if you do that.
What are the benefits of climbing?
Starting with sort of the most obvious would be the physical fitness aspect. Hiking up to a climb, the climbing itself, it all contributes to a healthy lifestyle, and that's really important. And there's a host of other things too, from the relationships formed around it that can be really positive. Interacting with nature or interacting with creation are really meaningful for a lot of people. That ability to the flow state that I talked about, the ability to sort of shut out everything and get a mental break from the stresses of life. Those are just a few that come to mind right off the bat.
And last question, what is the first thing a participant needs to know when climbing? Number one rule.
Number one rule, I would say, is to realize that you can get hurt or even killed and be respectful of that. I think if somebody can understand that and then use that to proceed cautiously and to seek out that instruction, it can be a really safe sport. But when you don't get the proper instruction and you don't take the time to learn the skills in a progression, you can get in over your head.